African Union Commission chairmanship, with the government now taking charge, even as the opposition chief yesterday disclosed that they have agreed to cut bureaucracy and unveil a well-oiled joint drive, which is further expounded on page number 4 of the paper on the quotations of the former cabinet of the former Prime Minister and the Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, who said that the emerging world order and the non-alignment strategy all need to be aligned with Odinga's campaign, saying that the team comprises of highly experienced and knowledgeable officers that will campaign for Mr. Odinga. Azimio leaders' curriculum vitae or resume will be translated into 6 AU languages for submission by the end of the month, according to the Prime Cabinet Secretary, including what he said was important to consider that Kenya's candidacy is key after losing out in the last election following Ambassador Amina Mohamed's failure to clinch that bid. He also talked about the importance of unity around the cause, saying that Raila Odinga is a Pan-Africanist who espouses the think tank above all guiding principle of the African Union Commission. He holds dear the African Union's ambition of being people-centered organization, and in him, he said, we have visionary leader to fire up the African Union to greater levels. Odinga, on his part, said that he was not government's project and that he himself was surprised at that. Mudavadi continued to say that additionally, the campaign will involve outreach programs to capitals of AU member states that's across the continent, briefing of Kenya missions abroad, and the engagements with diplomatic corps in Nairobi, and what appears to be a tight period for Mr. Odinga ahead of the elections next year. We therefore, he said, agreed on the need to cut bureaucracy, Mr. Odinga, and unveil a well-oiled and flexible joint effort going forward. Like all the campaign plans emerge and change demands arise and change suddenly, and we need to respond to them suddenly as they emerge, talking about where you will not be required to have a visa to travel across the continent, saying that he has been encouraged by the number of senior government officials offering to be part of his journey of an outstanding career that he says will represent the country. He said, I share that the government steamed the situation of my level of preparation from outside the government, talking on the necessity and the importance of this course, further highlighted on page number 4. On page number 8, why the state wants court to give note to GMOs and President William Ruto's determination to push for adoption of genetically modified organisms, asks the court to throw out 4 petitions and adopt a decision that approved the BT maize on page number 8. Up top, World Bank now faults Treasury's tax plan and targets on page number 7. State's new push to curb counterfeits on business, page number 18. How India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi lost the majority in India's parliament from 303 to 240 seats now in the 543 member parliament, the biggest democracy in the world, more than 1 billion voters who took part of the elections. And this ends the BJP's majority in India, which is a parliamentary democracy, and likelihood of delaying the government's projects in India since coming to power in 2014, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and who has since enjoyed absolute majority in the Indian parliament. But now, with a substantially reduced mandate, confounding expectation of a resounding victory forecast, analysts and exit polls now show of India's elections staggered across 6 weeks because of the number. More doping sanctions on the way on sports page number 39. Kibaki friends, sons knew of other daughter on national page number 6. And also opinion on the Ruto-Gachagua rift on page number 14. Elias Mokua's text says that this is the politics of pity and unnecessary at the moment. You're watching Daybreak, and thank you for staying with us. The hashtag on X is Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya and at Ayub Abdikadir. We begin at the proceedings before the National Assembly's Finance and Planning Committee, where the Anglican Church of Kenya Archbishop Jackson Ole Sapit led key stakeholders yesterday in the financial, transport and the engineering sectors in calling upon Parliament to reject the Finance Bill 2024 in its current form. While formally tabling his submission before the National Assembly's Finance and Planning Committee, the SCK Archbishop warning of an imminent economic crisis in the coming months. Seth Olale followed the proceedings, which happened before Kuria Kimani, who chairs the committee in Parliament, and filed the following report.
So, Lord, help us always to be careful in whichever generation, when we sit to make decisions on behalf of others, the Lord, we can be guided and led by you.
Increase taxes at your own peril. That is a sound warning from Anglican Church of Kenya Archbishop Jackson Ole Sapit to a parliamentary committee conducting public participation for the Finance Bill 2024. In opposing the bill in its current form, the SK Archbishop, while formally presenting his submissions before the National Assembly Finance and Planning Committee, termed the bill a tax burden to Kenyans who are already grappling with the high cost of living.
The proposed excise duty will lead to higher prices for essential household items such as cooking oil, soap, and bread. This will disproportionately affect the low-income families, increasing the cost of living and reducing their disposable income.
The Anglican Church of Kenya Archbishop prophesying economic doom in the months to come if Parliament will ignore the plight of taxpayers and go ahead to pass the controversial bill in its entirety.
The higher cost may be burdensome for small and medium enterprises. The increased expense could reduce profitability and competitiveness as many rely on these services for business operations. Additionally, this increase may lead to a decline in the use of formal money transfer services as individuals and businesses might seek cheaper informal alternatives, potentially reducing overall government revenue and hindering financial inclusion efforts.
The SK Archbishop faulting the drafters of the bill for being insensitive to the needs of ordinary Mwananchi, stating that even the church itself will be affected with the proposed tax increase on bread and wine that is used during Holy Communion.
There should be a kind of a caveat that things like unleavened bread, which is purely for Holy Communion, it's not something you can eat and get satisfied, or altar wine. I think this you must now help us to see how you can segregate and remove altar wine from other wines in the shelves, and remove unleavened bread from other breads in the shelves, so that we can we can have an opportunity of giving people Holy Communion, because you are going to tell us stop Holy Communion, which is a sacrament, which we cannot avoid doing it.
Telkom Kenya expressed worries about the adverse effects of taxing SIM cards and increasing digital taxes from 15 to 20%.
Increase in IDF, this will affect SIM cards. The increase from 2.5% to 3%. That has a knock-on effect on the cost of imported machinery in our sector, in imported technology and equipment. And also on SIM cards, like I mentioned earlier, and we ask that one be reconsidered.
In the manufacturing and construction sectors, representatives from the Institution of Engineers of Kenya advocated for the removal of taxes on construction materials to support local industry growth and infrastructure development, especially for specialized hospital materials, in order to facilitate affordable health care.
Exemptions need to be retained. And the justification is that the removal of the exemptions will discourage investments in the construction of specialized hospitals, and this will also increase the cost of such projects and increase unemployment.
Uba Kenya warning the parliamentary committee that the proposed 20% significant economic presence tax will make online transportation services expensive, and the additional costs will be passed on to the driver and passenger.
The withholding should be by platform owners who make payment to platform users, not platform owners who facilitate payment.
Other key stakeholders highlighted the potential negative impacts of increased taxes on different goods and services. For instance, a proposed 20% tax on software payments was criticized for potentially raising software costs and driving distributors out of the market. Concerns were also raised about high custom duties on materials essential for the dairy industry, with stakeholders arguing that duties ranging from 10% to 35% could reduce milk consumption and deter investment in the sector.
Today I've seen someone take a clip of me saying that manufacturers should take their jobs to Uganda and import here. And of course it is deliberate, cutting off the context of that conversation. I said, and I reiterate, that one of the things that we are very conscious about is we need to make decisions cognizant that we operate in around EAC region, around COMESA, and therefore if we make bad decisions, then we risk manufacturers shifting base from our country to our neighboring countries, and then they will import those products to our country, and we'll have exported those jobs to those other countries. So it is not that they should go there.
So Lord, bless us now, bless us into the future, and bless this team.
Seth Olale, Citizen TV.
And Raila Odinga's bid for the leadership of the African Union Commission's chairpersonship will now be led by a joint secretariat through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Prime Cabinet Secretary on Foreign Affairs CS Musalia Mudavadi says his office will work in conjunction with Odinga's team to lobby for continued support for Odinga's bid. The two leaders who addressed the conference expressed confidence in Kenya's bid for the continent, basing their stand on what they tasked for Odinga's stellar Pan-African record. Here's Brenda Wanga with that report.
His Excellency, Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga.
This was the first time that the government and the opposition leader, now AUC chairman, seat hopeful Raila Odinga, were jointly speaking on his candidature. The press briefing coming after a meeting between the two and their teams, where the government's commitment to supporting Raila's bid was cemented in the joining of the efforts from the two teams in the formation of a joint secretariat.
The State Department for Foreign Affairs has established a campaign secretariat which includes the candidate's strategy team. The Secretariat will prepare all the briefs for use by the candidate, develop campaign materials, including digital presence, and prepare for the public debate to be broadcast live to African citizens.
With committed and proper coordination between my team and the government, we should be able to clinch the seat.
Among the briefs for the Secretariat is a translation of Raila's CV into 6 African Union languages ahead of the deadline for the submission of regional bids in August this year. Raila Odinga exuding confidence that his record of leadership both in and out of Kenya stands him in good favor to win the seat and become the first East African at the helm of the AUC. Musalia Mudavadi echoes the sentiments and says the government is out to spread that same message to other African countries as it drums up support for Odinga.
I believe that I have sufficient knowledge and experience to be able to move the AU forward. The AU is an institution that was founded by the founding fathers of our nation. And their dream was an Africa that was united, an Africa that was cohesive, an Africa that was developed.
Additionally, the campaign involves outreach programs to capitals of AU member states, briefing of Kenya missions abroad, and engagements with diplomatic corps in Nairobi. Kenya is certain that our candidate, the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, has credentials and the passion to advocate for Africa's interests globally and champion for more opportunities for Africa and her people.
Both leaders also noted that Kenya stood to gain from Raila's continental leadership, but dismissed speculation that the government's support for Raila's candidature was a trade-off.
I was myself pleasantly surprised that the Kenya government said they would support me. I was expecting them to say no. I don't know the reason why they said yes.
And Raila Amolo Odinga has got the requisite experience. As I said in another forum, he has seen both hot and cold. And Africa is dealing with both hot and cold. and Raila is required on the African continent.
Elections for the seat will be held in February next year. Brenda Wanga, Citizen TV.
And in an apparent sustaining of hostility between allies of President William Ruto and his deputy Rigathi-Gachagua, the Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi led a group of close allies in a fresh round of firing at the Deputy President Rigathi-Gachagua. Here is what they had to say.
By the time tunafika 2022, mlima tayari ilikuwa kwa mfuko ya William Samoei Ruto. Na kwa hivyo itakuwa ni makosa mtu akikaa hivi anasema ati mimi nilikuletea mlima. Hakuna mlima ililetwa. Mlima ilikuwa kwa William, ilikuwa na William, na ndio maana akapata uongozi ambao amepata.
If you want to lead the people of Kenya, have a plan like our president has a plan for this country. Have an ideology that you can marshal and garner the people of Kenya to follow your ideology. But ideologies of division, ethnic balkanization, personality worship cults, that is politics of the past and overtaken by time, overtaken by generations.
Kama viongozi wa kitaifa, kama viongozi katika Kenya hii, tuungane na rais ya kusema kwamba tuwe huru, tuwe watu wa kutembea na kushikana, tujue wenzetu, jua jirani yako, jua dada yako kutoka Lungalunga, jua yule anatoka Turkana, yule anatoka katika sehemu mbalimbali. Tusiwe watu ambao tunafikiria kila mara mambo ya kikabila.
Unity ya nchi ni muhimu sana kuliko mtu binafsi.
Itakuwa ni makosa wakati wewe unaingia kiti unaanza kuretreat to the tribal cocoon. It is very unfortunate and it will be tragic for us to pull a global leader in the name of the President of Kenya, William Samoei Ruto, to come to the level ya kuangalia maneno ya makabila.
Mahali tunaelekea kama jamii ama Kenya, tunasema sisi tuko na jamii yetu na baba yetu ya nchi hii ni President William Samoei Ruto. Na tumesema sisi tukae na amani.
And also on the other side, the Deputy President yesterday and his allies renewed their demand as well for respect, saying the Mount Kenya region had the decisive vote that secured a victory for President William Ruto. Will be getting to those soundbites shortly in the course of this discussion, and we will be playing them for my panel here as we embark on that conversation shortly. Trouble for Muguka traders deepened with Lamu County joining the imposition of stringent measures on the sale and the distribution of the stimulant. The new measures, which take effect immediately, include ban on sale of Muguka on the streets, either in boxes or buckets. Instead, all Muguka vendors will now be required to sell the stimulant strictly in shops. The sale of the stimulant near educational institutions, worship centers like mosques and churches and madrasas has been banned. Lamu County Governor Isa Timame warned that any breach of these new regulations would be met with dire consequences.
We are banning street sales of Muguka. Number two, we shall not allow the sale of Muguka in any places near places of worship and our schools. And thirdly, we shall not allow the sale of Muguka and Miraa to persons who are under the age of 18 years.
Mimi ningependelea angechukua msimamo kama ule wa gavana wa Mombasa na Taita Taveta na Kilifi. Apige marufuku kabisa Muguka kwa sababu Muguka uko na athari kubwa sana. Wengi watu hawalali, wanakuwa paka wenda wazimu, wengine pia nyumbani pia kazi zingine pia zinakuwa ni shida kwa mabibi zao.
Kwenye vibanda ni sawa, bora yafunga Muguka kwani sinda niko wapi. Lakini kama hapa Njeti tuomba kama mimi ndio msaji hapa Njeti, tumwombea tuwekee vibanda kuhusia Muguka, si hakuna nafasi.
Na wasiuzie watoto ya shule na nini na kadhalika ni mzuri. Lakini kwa maoni yangu angefunga kabisa isikuje hapa Lamu. Ndio
You're watching Daybreak, and thank you for staying with us. The hashtag on X is Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya and at Ayub Abdikadir. When we get back from the break, I'll take the account of my panel, including the Executive Director of the Center for Multi-Party Democracy, Franklin Mukwanja, who is with me in studio. Good morning. Lovely to have you here. The Mbere North MP, Geoffrey Ruku, is here with me as well. Shortly, we'll be joined by the Makwene County Senator Dan Manzo as we take stock of the major political events of the week, including the fault lines at the presidency. All after the break here on the broadcast. Stay tuned.
Kwenye siha na maumbile.
Ukiona mtu kwa nje mwili ni mkubwa, kuna uwezekano ya kwamba pia ukimpima ile BMI yake itakuwa juu, kwa sababu apart from kufanya hiyo BMI kuna ile waist circumference ambayo pia tunaiangalia katika mambo ya obesity.
Siha na maumbile kila Alhamisi saa 1 jioni.
Kila siku wako mbioni kujitafutia riziki na kila mmoja akiwa daraja la mwingine. Lakini je, unafahamu shajara ya maisha yao?
Hata kufunguliwa hivi nikaona bradangu amefura, alikuwa amefungwa na kamba mikono yote mbili.
Nilijua juu kumaliza tu kama wani alikuwa tayari amenyamaza, hakuna kupiga simu.
Ilifika pahali mimi nikaambia tu Mungu, just give me a body to bury.
Kila Ijumaa utapata simulizi ya shajara ya maisha yao ukiwa nami Lulu Hassan.
Na Friday kifika maidha unajua tuko Ndakas, tuko Ndetni, tuko Inadi area. Anapiga pick ndani ya nyumba na bado ananimaliza.
Ni 10/10 Buddha. Kila Friday Aziza nayo men Buddha.
We've got amazing performances.
I said tonight we are done. Mbona unabaki home? Ikesha 24. Atumeka tu dawa ya mbele moja.
We've got super awesome segments. Most people got to interact with you for the first time. Hapa hivi Citizen. 10 p.m. mpaka masaa yake.
Good vibes, and inshallah.
Starting 10th June at 7:30 p.m.
Umepika?
Okay. The dessert.
Come on, my material.
Oh my God.
Tunachukua nyumba hii iwe chini ya usimamizi wetu.
Mke mwema ni baraka kutoka kwa Mungu.
This is a slum.
Neema, starting 10th June at 7:30 p.m.
Want a break from the hustle of everyday life? Come experience the wilderness of the Mara by enjoying the 30% discount exclusive only to View Travel clients. Embark on adventurous game drives, enjoy picnic lunches, and later relax to a chilled evening. Get to enjoy daily safari departures to the Mara Sopa Lodge for only 22,500 Kenya shillings for a 3-day safari. You cannot get a better deal than this. Call 0703-254-254 or visit viewtravel.com and let View Travel be your guide into the wild. View Travel. Dream, explore, discover.
Welcome back. This is Daybreak, and thank you for staying with us. The hashtag on X is Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya, and at Ayub Abdikadir. With me in studio is the Executive Director, the Center for Multi-Party Democracy, Franklin Mukwanja. Thank you. Good morning, Franklin.
Good morning.
Lovely to have you. Mbeere North MP Geoffrey Ruku is with me here as well on the broadcast. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Much appreciated.
Good morning.
Let's get to the other side of the divide. And the Deputy President yesterday, Ruto-Gachagua and his allies, renewed their demand for what they say is respect, saying Mount Kenya region had the decisive vote which secured the presidency for President William Ruto in the elections held in August 2022. Here's what they had to say.
And when I saw that there are people from outside who want to create a division in this region, knowing the danger of moving when we are not united, I called for the unity of this region. All politics is local. All politics is local. Leaders of this region who want to fight unity don't speak in Western. Don't speak in Rift Valley. Come and speak here. If you think this unity is a bad thing for the Mount Kenya region or is tribalism, the way I'm hearing, don't speak outside there. Kuja ita mkutano hapa Mkurueni, useme hii umoja ya Mount Kenya ni ukabila.
3 million votes from the mountain made this government secure. And we must get the respect due of 3 million votes. Sio watu wanakaa pale wanaongea vile wanataka. Hapana. Tena ni vizuri tutangaze hapa. Hizo kura zetu, nyinyi mnasema nani zimewakilishwa na nani? Kura zetu 3,000,000. The only figure around that ni Rigathi wake.
Franklin, to you first. What does this portend, especially this crack at the presidency? It seems it's now full-blown for the unity of the country, and they talk about tribal politics. One party saying it's the unity call. The president's camp saying that is unnecessary and we need not to amplify voices around tribal politics. What are the consequences and the bearing this has on national unity?
I mean, when a mother and a father are not reading from the same script, suddenly the children will be troubled. And in this case, we liken the mother and the father of the nation as the president and the deputy. Mm-hmm. That's number one. Number two is that there's nothing new that Deputy President Ruto-Gachagua is doing that we didn't see in President William Ruto as the deputy of Uhuru Kenyatta. Okay. Is the same old rule book that he's playing out. And there is nothing new that the president and his henchmen are doing to the deputy president that is new. We see the old tactic of lighting fires at the backyard of the deputy, possibly to keep him busy on that end. But then there are two schools of thought that are a clash here. There are those who believe, and we have had it, that the President William Ruto is his own man and went to the mountain, and the Deputy President Ruto-Gachagua is simply a beneficiary of his good politics on the mountain. But then there are those ones who question that if it's indeed true that Ruto-Gachagua was unpopular with even the elected leaders at that time, and we had stories of who was favored as a deputy. But then the candidate, William Ruto, insisted on picking the unpopular Ruto-Gachagua. What does that mean? Is there something that the president saw in Ruto-Gachagua that would, enable him to victory? And I think if it continues that way, and looking at the voting patterns of 2022 and the previous patterns. First, we have not had an outright victory. Yes, there's been a victory, but we have had very slim margins. There's not been even a 51%. It's been 50.0 something. That tells you the margin is very small. The universal margin between President Ruto and Raila Odinga was about 240,000 votes. The +1 was even 70,000 votes. And then you look at the voting patterns, you realize that the Mount Kenya bloc was a substantial vote to President William Ruto.
Yeah.
Who stands at a bigger risk here? I think as it stands, any slice of the Mount Kenya vote affects. If the patterns remain the same in 2027 and there is a fallout, any slicing of the Mount Kenya vote endangers the president and his candidature in 2027.
Okay.
You cannot ignore that fact.
Yeah.
I do not see the forays he will make in Nyanza, the forays he might likely make in Western or at the coast, and that can be able to top up the numbers that come from around the mountain. At the national level, it is really, really a risk. Because we do politics and waste time on issues, on insignificant issues, instead of focusing on national debate.
And that is the priority aspect here, because the national outlook is more important, despite the appreciation that Kenya is an ethno-majoritarian democracy. Honorable Ruku, coming to you, because you are elected as a UDA member of Parliament. Democratic Party. Given what's happening at the moment, what's the cause of all these differences and the fact that it appears the fault lines are clear at the office of the presidency, and isn't it too early?
Yeah, true, it is quite early, but at the same time we have to appreciate the Kenyan politics is more ethnic, and probably we will break this ethnic type of politics come 2032. Probably by then, Kenya population will be ripe enough to break away from ethnic kind of mobilization and getting senior offices of the land. But at the moment, there is no dispute as far as who is the kingpin or who is the leader of the lower eastern region. That is Raje Kalonzo Musyoka. There is no dispute whatsoever who is the kingpin as far as the Ruo Nyanza politics is concerned, is Raila Odinga. There is no dispute as far as the lefty Fari. The entire left from all the way from Turkana going down as far as who is the kingpin. In terms of ethnic style of politics. But there is a question. There is a problem as far as Mount Kenya region is concerned.
Who in your view is the kingpin of the Mount Kenya region?
There are those who are saying the kingpin of Mount Kenya region is Uhuru Kenyatta.
Okay.
There are those who are saying, no, it's not Uhuru Kenyatta. Actually, the kingpin of Mount Kenya region is William Ruto, because he made inroads as far as Mount Kenya region politics is concerned. There are those who are saying, no, I think we need our own kingpin, and at the moment the person who is holding the highest office politically is the Deputy President of the Republic. So there are different schools of thought as far as Mount Kenya region is concerned. And that's why the Deputy President is saying the unity of Mount Kenya region is important, because there's no outright unifying factor. For those who are of the school of thought may want done within the Mount Kenya region, but also that are so many doubt and question we can ask. How was the performance of Jubilee Party in the last general election as far as Mount Kenya region is concerned, if Uhuru Kenyatta is the kingpin of Mount Kenya region? So I think what we are seeing is the unity of Mount Kenya region is threatened, and that's for sure. But me being one of the leaders from that region, I think we will fight very, 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 very hard to ensure Mount Kenya region remain united. We know what it means if we are divided, and we cannot at the same time sit and watch 8 million votes not going to one basket. We have to be in this government. We will be in the next government, which will be in form 2027, 2032, and also we will be in the government which will come after 2032. That is critical. That is critical, and the unity of our region is non-negotiable.
Okay.
We cannot.
Okay. When you talk about the unity, who will lead that cause?
That's now the where all this jostling is all about.
Yeah.
Who is going to be unifying factor as far as the unit of Mount Kenya region? Is it the Deputy President Ruto-Gachagua? Is it Uhuru Kenyatta? Is it Kimani Ichung'wah? Is it Didi Nyoro? Is it Kidiki Kithure? Is it J.B. Muturi? We are not short of leaders. Is it Governor Waiguru? Is it Governor Cecil Mbalile? We are not short of leaders as far as Mount Kenya region is concerned, but at the moment we have Rigathi Gachagua as the person who has the highest office politically within Mount Kenya region. And part of the time is unfortunate also that we are discussing this type of politics. We should be able to look at Kenya, in a bigger picture, and we appreciate that Kenya is a presidential system where the president bears the sovereignty, the power of the executive power of the people of Kenya, and we can also say that the resources are allocated according to ethnic. The resources allocation which we do in Parliament are not done in consideration of ethnic consideration.
There are proper procedures and the formulas that are set out in the Constitution that we'll be talking about shortly, and the need for this conversation being a Kenyan conversation, not a regional conversation.
That's the thing.
And the unity needed, and we'll be talking more about some of the sentiments made by the Office of the Presidency. Senator Dan Manzo, good morning.
Good morning.
Lovely to have you.
Thank you.
Are we overlooking the general Kenyan mosaic when we talk about regionalization of politics in the context of kingpins, around unity calls, the need for coalescing around a cause, and forget about the largely national agenda of what's supposed to be an outlook, an appreciation of the cocktail that makes up Kenya's ethnicity?
Unfortunately, that's what it is. Yeah, since independence, Kenya has only been ruled by two regions, Central Kenya and the Rift Valley. And every time Central Kenya and Rift Valley works together, they clinch the presidency. And even after devolution, the president is still very powerful. He's controlling 85%. And I'll be very honest with you. President Uhuru Kenyatta was president because of William Ruto and his region. And currently, President William Ruto is president because of Central Kenya. So that's a fact you cannot ignore. And unless we detribalize the politics of the country, and unfortunately, the presidential candidates come from tribal cocoons. Charity begins at home. If you don't have numbers, really, you have no chance of ever clinching the presidency in future. But we want a future, we want a Kenya whereby anybody, just like Tanzania, the presidents have been coming from small tribes and supported by the bigger tribes. You know that regionalization cannot be forever. There will come a day when the president will not come from Central and the president will not come from Rift Valley. And therefore, what is happening in Central Kenya is the lack of a kingpin. And the one who is there, the deputy president, who has the highest office, second highest office in the land, some people are undermining him. This is sponsored from other regions and inside the region. It is true that Dindi Nyoro has a future in politics. Kimani Ichung'wah has a future in politics. But it is too early for them to undermine the likes of Rigathi Gachagua. First of all, when you are looking at a kingpin, you look at the age. You look at the capacity, to bring all people together. When Central Kenya rioted against Uhuru Kenyatta, they never went to the wazays, they never went to the clans, they never went to the system, of central Kenya. They just rebelled by themselves and gave or pretended that President Ruto is a kingpin. He isn't. He's a kingpin of the Rift Valley.
But Senator, why do we need kingpins? Why do we need fiefdoms? Kenya is a democracy, and the sovereign power is in the hands of the Kenyan people. I mean, isn't it unfortunate that you, as a senator, established lawyer, you still hold the deep thought of kingpinship and the role it plays in Kenyan politics, instead of appreciating that power lies with the Kenyan people who make the decision?
It is a reality now, and we are looking at a future where now, as the young generation, we want to cut across and break those bonds. The kingpins and the tribalism is like slavery. These people are just slaves, whether you like it or not. The people of Rift Valley now are slaves of Ruto, politically. The people of Central Kenya are trying to break away from slavery. You may liken it, if you go to Luo Nyanza and you try to undermine Baba, you will never survive politically. So we're looking at a future whereby, it has been the power of the presidency. That's what has been caused by the goodies which came with the presidency and to different regions. At the moment, you look like you are against your own leadership established in your region. The people who really, will never give you a chance in politics. They will mishandle you. So we are looking at a future where that will cut across. And unfortunately, the young people who should be bringing this change, they don't vote. Most of them don't see the need of acquiring an ID card. They don't see the need of registering as a voter. And the majority, they are 72-75%.
Okay.
They don't see the need of the tribe or the region you come from. But when it comes to decision making,
that's a fair comment.
When it comes to decision making, they are not part of the decision making.
Okay.
They allow the tribalized people to make the decision for them. I can assure you 7 million Kenyans did not vote. They were the young ones.
Actually did not take part, more than even what the two presidential
candidates. The enfranchisement of young people is not by themselves. It is by design of the leadership. If you look at these legislators today and ask them in the current budget how much is going to IEBC, so that they can be able to continue doing their work of continuous voter registration and civic education, is very minimal. In fact, IEBC is only surviving on salaries and rent. There is no business going on. Look at the crisis that we have with the, registration, issuing of IDs. You delay people and then you start blaming them. I think young people need to be engaged. Young people need to get the right documentation. And also, the level of engagement that these politicians are having is actually what is putting off politicians, is putting off the young people, because they are seeing that democracy is not paying the dividends. They need policies that are progressive, that they can be able to get opportunities. Are these politicians engaged in that business? The other day I was on this show the last time with Honorable Manso, and I want to remind to jog his mind. I told him the issue of fertilizer will go nowhere, because the kind of legislators that we have are not interested in those selfless issues. And he can confirm today that the minister is still in office, regardless of the level of evidence on such scandals that actually put off young people from engaging in this civic discourse.
But in the end, isn't it important that they take part in that exercise as well? Because you have a chance to vote after every 5-year cycle. I mean, to address these grievances that you said that they have, the feeling that they are sidelined, but they can still make their voice heard through the ballot. When they stay off the political process, this again comes to backfire them, is it? And blow back on their faces.
There is a way to engage for young people to be involved. There are two things. One is that there is no facilitation for them to get the right documentation in advance for them to participate. If you're even struggling to access an ID when you are of majority age, and then you have a commission that is not facilitated to deliver on its constitutional mandate, when are you going to be able to interface with this generation so that they can see the value of the engagement. Then on the other end, there is no delivery of services that can convince young people that actually democracy is delivering dividends, and it's a place that we should be able to engage. So in terms of the demand and the supply, we have all those challenges that the leaders should address themselves to, and not just pointing fingers that young people are sitting on their laurels and they do not want to engage. There are reasons, and those reasons are to be tackled by the leadership and not to blame the young people for not.
And our leaders are here. Honorable Ruku, allow me to, let's get back, because this is a conversation that is deeply rooted in some of the utterances made by the Office of the Presidency. And here I am very specific on the Deputy President, Ruto-Gachagua. In the early months of the presidency, he talked about the question of shareholding, how some Kenyans should get preference over others. He talked about keeping guard at State House in Nairobi so that some parties do not access the president, talking about the opposition leader Raila Odinga. And now he's a disgruntled persona in the Office of the Presidency, talking about unity and seeing gloomy days ahead, the dark days he predicted in Nyandarua County about a fortnight ago. Isn't it a case of Gachagua eating the humble political pie here of now crying foul over unfortunate statements he made about government and Kenyans at large?
One, I'm a member of Parliament. I don't sit in presidency.
You are part of the party that forms the coalition, the coalition alliance.
And I can't speak for the Deputy President, but true. It is not right to undermine any leader, whether to undermine the president or to undermine the deputy president, or even to undermine any other elected leader. If you don't agree with him or with sentiments coming from any elected leader, I think the best thing we can do is also to have respect for the people who elected these leaders. The deputy president has said quite a number of statements in the past, as in day-to-day interaction with the people, and true, there are issues. There are issues which need to be addressed, but I think the person who has the capacity to address all these issues is the president of the nation. If there are issues between deputy president and the president, then I think they have the right forum. They meet in many places. They have cabinet meeting. They can call each other. These are people who have gone through difficult terrain in the past during the campaigns and even before the campaigns. So I think they are in a better position to address some of the concerns which probably are coming from both sides. But I think the right thing to do is to support the two of them, to support the president, to support the deputy president in the effort to unifying the country, in the effort to shaping the economy of this country. But sentiment on whether the deputy president is seeing darkness, I don't know what kind of darkness is this. Okay.
And the point is, you have gone off to a lovely diversion from my question. As a member of Parliament who sits in the National Assembly, you are privileged to represent the people of Mbeere North.
Yes. He's a captain.
I'll come to you, Senator Manso. And that privilege gives you the responsibilities